The Shad White and Brett Favre Mississippi Battle Royale has gone nuclear national viral, as if it needed any more gas to the fire. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk nukes Shad White from space, comparing him to Letitia James and Fani Willis, and comparing Brett Favre to Donald Trump. And this is exactly what I've been saying and warning was going to happen on my radio show, as well as my co-host Sean Yurkaron. And it's what I've been saying anytime I've made a video about this. Shad White was playing with fire, going after Brett Favre, American hero, Mississippi hero, patriot, good old boy, well-loved here in the South. You know, in what's clearly not anything he did wrong. It's obvious, in my opinion, and I guess I could be proven wrong, and I'm welcome to that. I welcome being proved wrong. It appears that Shad was doing nothing more than using Brett Favre so he could financially benefit and try to win governor. And he wrote this book here, which it is a good book, by the way. I don't want to hate on it. Look, Shad does a lot of stuff, and I always try to highlight the good that Shad does, because thankfully somebody is fighting the fight he's fighting. But is that really the state auditor's job? Frank, really, it don't matter if it is or isn't. I appreciate him doing it. But I don't appreciate him using an American hero, an icon, the poster boy of Mississippi, for his political gain. Let's jump into it. Real quick, this segment is going to be brought to you by Men's Health in Mississippi. Guys, if you're suffering from low testosterone, it could absolutely be negatively affecting your life in ways you never imagined. If you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, or sleep disturbances, guys, text my name, Clay, to 601-327-8550. They're going to get you hooked up with a complimentary, free in my hood, testosterone screening. I talked to them the other day and went by Friday, and they said, Clay, whatever you're doing, it's working. People are coming in and we're changing their lives with this testosterone. And look, I'm a client, I'm a user. I love it. I believe in it. Get over there, get checked out today. And hey, look, maybe you don't need testosterone, which you probably do. Don't doubt it. If you're over 30 years old, 35 years old, you probably need testosterone. Maybe you want to check out compounded Ozempic. It's called semaglutide. Can't afford Ozempic, don't have insurance, don't want to spend $1,300 a month. For pennies on the dollar, dang near, you can give yourself a shot every week of compounded semaglutide. Text weight loss to that same number, 601-327-8550. It's back legal in Mississippi. They had outlawed it for a little while till they figured out if it was healthy or not. They got it all sorted out. They got it back going. I'm going into my second month on semaglutide. I lost 10 pounds last month. 10 last month on semaglutide. I'm not having to do intermittent fasting anymore. I'm able to actually eat a little more throughout the day and just eating less. Anyway, that is my medical advice for the day. And again, it's just advice. I'm not recommending. I'm not a doctor. Anyway, apparently everybody does that on YouTube. They tell you, I'm not a doctor. The number's on the bottom of the screen if you need it. All right, let's jump in. We've got Charlie Kirk here, nuking Shad White from space.
Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. In just a second, we have the legendary Brett Favre joining us, but I have to get some things off my chest first. I got to talk about some things that Brett may or may not be able to talk about. And, we talk a lot about lawfare. We talk about how people are targeted by government agents and government agencies. And this is a story that you guys need to know about. We expect our government officials to act in the public interest. You'd think that in the state of Mississippi, a deep red state, a great state full of patriots, we wouldn't have to deal with this kind of nonsense. But this sort of targeting is not immune in Mississippi to the favorite son of Mississippi and our next guest, Brett Favre. And if it could happen to him, it could happen to anybody. This story is chilling. We talk a lot about Letitia James and Alvin Bragg targeting Donald Trump. But let me tell you about what's been happening in Mississippi below the radar. If you don't know about this, you got to pay attention. It's all about this guy by the name of Shad White. Several years ago, Shad White informed Brett Favre that a well-known Mississippi nonprofit company had used federal welfare funds that had received from the state to pay Brett for an endorsement and advertising work that Brett agreed to do for the nonprofit. No big deal there. Even though Brett had done nothing wrong, he did not know the source of the funds, and Brett had performed services for the nonprofit, he returned all the funds to the state of Mississippi. Brett returned the funds, no questions asked, and because he had done nothing wrong and did not ask for a release of any claims or anything else, Shad White publicly congratulated Brett for his upstanding and generous conduct. However, for purely political reasons, similar to Alvin Bragg and Fani Willis, White then later turned on Brett. The state, led by Shad White, sued Brett for the money that he'd already returned. That's really bizarre. How do you even do that? White knew that suing Brett would attract widespread publicity, and it has. In fact, the publicity has made Brett persona non grata in many circles and has damaged his ability to make a living in the state of Mississippi. You see,
that's 100% true. You know, you just couldn't turn the TV on without Brett Favre being in a commercial, and that has all been completely ruined for what I foresee being the rest of Brett's life, no matter what happens here. If all this goes away tomorrow, I don't think you'll ever see another Brett Favre in another commercial. After what Shad White has done to Brett, he might as well just said the N-word because that's how he's being treated.
Wanted that publicity because he's a very ambitious person, like Fani Willis. He wants to be the next governor of Mississippi. In other words, he decided to try and advance his career by improperly destroying American patriot and great man Brett Favre.
All facts.
Now, White recently has written a book about his efforts to go after Brett. Yes, you heard me right. He wrote a book. He's trying to personally profit from going after Brett Favre. Where is the crime? What is the issue? Do you see a pattern here? As state auditor, he's the one responsible for auditing state agencies in Mississippi to ensure they are running properly. Talk about the fox guarding the henhouse. Now, after he was sued, Brett asked the court to throw out White's ridiculous lawsuit seeking funds that Brett had already returned. But before the court ruled on his request, the state dropped its original claims and sued Brett for something else altogether. Now, they claimed that federal welfare funds the state transferred through its state nonprofit to another state entity, Southern Miss University, Brett's alma mater, were used to put up some building on that state college's property. It's all very confusing. And they claim that this was done for Brett's benefit, and therefore Brett's responsible. And if a building the state owns, paid for state money, really belongs to Brett.
You know, I'm glad he brings that up because that is one of the most ridiculous arguments in this whole thing. It's somehow Brett got a building built to benefit because his daughter was playing volleyball. She was going to play volleyball there anyway. He didn't have to build a building to get her to play volleyball there. Brett Favre don't own that building. The state of Mississippi owns that building. The state of Mississippi paid for that building. How stupid y'all sound when y'all make this argument. Mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling.
These are ludicrous claims, no different than what we've been seeing in the Lawfare type chapter. But again, in the deepest red state in Mississippi, they're not immune to this. Now, to bring these ludicrous claims, the state isn't using state attorneys. Instead, they retain private lawyers and, believe it or not, the same kind of funds, federal welfare funds, to pay for those private lawyers.
You know, Mike Hurst, the leader of the GOP here in Mississippi, the executive president or whatever his exact title is of the GOP here, he was on the radio show and, you know, called out or defended himself, whatever you want to say, all the accusations Shad made against him in the book. His first interview was on my show with Sean Yerkron and myself. And he said, you know, what scares him about Shad White is somebody this obsessed with power. And he brought up this Lawfare stuff. He's like, you know, look at what he's doing with Brett. He's that obsessed with power. Does that guy need to be in a position where he can go after his enemies like that with Lawfare? Because if he'll do it to Brett Favre, who won't he do it to? It's scary to think about that. It really is. And I try to not go all in on Shad because I think he's a good guy. I really do. But he has gotten power drunk. And it's scary. We don't need anybody like that in statewide politics. They're going to go after people they think can benefit them.
Now, there's no way Brett could be responsible for any of this. Every relevant state agency and numerous public officials and lawyers had specifically approved the transfer of funds to construct the building. It's all out in the open. And yet State Auditor Shad White is trying to blame retired quarterback, non-lawyer, American patriot, private citizen Brett Favre. On top of all this, Brett and his lawyers, while they're doing everything they can to possibly defend Brett in court and have sued Shad White in separate case for defaming Brett, having very limited ability limited in their ability to publicly protect his reputation because of a Democrat-elected judge has put a gag order on his parties and lawyers. Now, no public official should have the power to unjustly attack a private citizen. It's wrong when Letitia James does it, and it's wrong when Shad White does it. And we have a message for Shad White, a Turning Point Action, and all of us here. We've been watching you, and we don't like what you're doing here. And we're going to make sure that you're not elected as governor of Mississippi, and you do not have a political future if this nonsense and this garbage continues.
I agree 100%. I think it's not too late for Shad to turn this around. This nonsense needs to stop. Charlie Kirk he has a radio show on the same station I do. I think it's from it's from 2 to 4 every day. Charlie Kirk's on 103.9 FM WYAB. He makes a great point. Look, this guy has a huge, huge platform. And it's a lot of younger folks that follow Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA. That is not the demographic that Shad White wants turned against him. And that is what's going to happen. So let's go to Shad over here. Shad has replied to this, and it's just more mudslinging, but, I'm here for it. It's what I make a living talking about, so I'm glad he defended himself. Gives us something to talk about. And of course, we'll talk about it on the radio show again as well. But here's Shad's response. Now, he says he's going to respond to it more so later this week, but hell, he wrote 4 paragraphs here. I don't know how much more he has to say. Says, first, I have to respond to Charlie Kirk's idea that Brett Favre is a, air quotes, American hero. When Colin Kaepernick made the disgusting display of refusing to stand for the national anthem, Brett Favre called him a hero. He compared Kaepernick to actual hero Pat Tillman when Favre said, I can only think of, right off the top of my head, Pat Tillman, another guy who did something similar, and we regard him as a hero. His words, as a military service member, myself, I have very different definitions of hero than Favre and Charlie. Just my personal opinion, Brett was scum to compare Kaepernick to Tillman, and Charlie owes every vet listening to this show an apology for using that word to describe Favre. Second, on the welfare case, I've done nothing but tell the truth about this case from the beginning. I've told the truth about how Favre said in text messages that he was seeking money that should be used for state-funded shelters, schools, homes, etc., his words. I've told the truth about how he wanted to keep this confidential, his words. Favre asked in private text if he and his associates could keep the payments confidential multiple times. Again, his words, not mine. As a conservative and Christian, I've always enjoyed Charlie's videos debating college students, and he makes great points in those. But here, it's obvious he doesn't understand the basics of this case. If you think it's politically convenient for me to take on a Hall of Fame quarterback in Mississippi, you're stupid, stupid, stupid. I don't think it's politically convenient, Shad. I think it's financially convenient. Anyway, says I'm not here to do what's convenient. I'm not here to be buddies with the famous guy like some others. I don't care. I'm here to do my job and tell Mississippians what happened to our money. Third, he's obviously got a problem that I wrote a book on this case. Out last month, Favre sued me years ago just for telling the truth in this case. It forced me to hire a private lawyer. Hey, well, tell everybody why the attorney general in the state won't defend you. Anyway, because my first personal legal bill was about 3 times the advance I was paid for the book. This case hurt me personally, not helped. Fourth, conservatives should all be united and focused on beating Kamala Harris right now. We're in the middle of a critical election, as evidenced by the horrific events today. Trump, depending on when you watch this, they tried to kill Trump again today. Stop spreading lies about me, especially right now. Focus on the fate of the country, which is on the line, not yourself, Brett. Finally, I will go to my grave and I will stand before God knowing I told the truth and did my job here. Nothing else matters. And as always, I'm happy to explain what we did in this case at any time with anyone. Well, Shad White, I want to invite you on my show. I know that some back channel people have been working on it with my co-host and somebody that works for you, but let me personally invite you on because I would like to hear it. We had Mike Hurst on. I know you have no problem running over to Super Talk or anywhere else. Why don't you come on the number 1 morning talk show? Frankly, the number 1 talk show, political talk show in the state of Mississippi, the Clay Edwards Show, and let's talk about it. I'm very friendly with people I disagree with. I mean, let's start cussing me out or something. But I disagree with you on this. Prove me wrong. I think taxation is theft to begin with. So that's probably where we're gonna disagree on the start there. I don't think that poor people should be getting that money at all. period. But I'm also the first one to jump in line and defend you on the DEI stuff. So, I probably agree with you 51% of the time. And frankly, that's about all I need to support you. But with all that said, I disagree with you on this. But I want to say I do respect your hustle. I legitimately. I don't like what you're doing to Favre. I don't think I think you should have proven whatever it is you got to prove by now, and either get an indictment going or go on from it. But that said, I respect the hustle. I respect the book. I don't think you should have gone after Mike Hurst and some other people so personally like you did in it. But hey, that's y'all, not me. I'm just here to talk about it. Mississippi hustle. Swindle, I mean. Bought 4 of them one day. Check it out, man. The Clay Edwards Show, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. What do you guys think? See, I think I want to end in this. I've been saying this on the radio show. Shad is walking a tightrope with this. Conservatives, you're going after a conservative. And when I say conservative, I don't necessarily mean political. I mean good old boy Mississippi, conservative, bread and butter poster boy Brett Favre. Wrangler jeans, you know it all. You're going after a guy that legitimately speaks for so many people. People see themselves in Brett Favre. You're going after him for what seems really wishy-washy at best. He was good buddies, Look, man, maybe he was too famous for his own good. Maybe Phil and these other folks made him feel, pun intended, that he wasn't doing anything wrong. The AG's office approved that damn building. Jim Hood approved that building down there in Hattiesburg. He paid the money back for the speeches he didn't make. Didn't COVID hit and screw all that up to begin with? Maybe I got my timeline mixed up a little bit, but neither here nor there. It's time to leave Brett Favre alone. And so now to try to make this fight with Brett Favre, you're having to go and posse up with a bunch of left-wing media folks that always have an axe to grind with anybody they deem conservative. I saw the HBO nonsense. I see some of the ESPN nonsense. I see you on liberal talk stations and television shows, buddying up with these folks. But they don't like you either. Because the second you leave there and you start going on all your DEI stuff, any bridges you may have built with them, you've burned immediately. I'm just curious what bridge you plan on driving across to become governor. I just think it's going to be a really, really tough one for you. I truly do. Because if you look at the other potential people voting that could be running, I think you're gonna have a hard go at it. But the Duff billionaire potentially, Gerard Gibert, track record speaks for itself. One of the most successful businessmen in the history of the state. The front runner in the House right now for Clay Edwards' vote. You got Andy Gibson. Gonna be hard to beat Andy Gibson. I mean, say what you want, say what you will about the whole good old boy shtick. There's a lot of good old boys here that are Brett Favre fans. They're gonna love Andy Gibson. He talks to people about dinner table topics. He knows their names and he makes eye contact with them. And, whether you into that whole good old boy, all shucks stuff, there's a lot of people that are. And Andy's a good guy too. So even if you aren't, I'm not into that stuff. But he talks to me like I'm a real person. And I appreciate that. Lynn Fitch? Lynn ain't got a chance. But so it's Shad. It's Duff. It's going back through my brain here. Who did I say? Shad, Duff, Gerard. Thank you. Lynn, and who knows, Michael Watson maybe? Or is he going for lieutenant governor? And of course, Shad. And that no telling who else could pop out between here and there. No telling, could Jason White want to take a run at it? Could be very interesting. Maybe there's somebody else that we don't know about sitting back in the cut. Like, oh man, what about Clay Edwards? I'm kidding. I don't know, man. Y'all tune into the Clay Edwards Show Monday through Friday. I'm calling him out. I want Shad on the show. I was hoping to get it done through some back channels, but he says he'll talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere. So I'm your Huckleberry. You've been invited. Let's do it. My numbers all back up my comments about it being the number one. So if you ain't gonna be on the number one, what are you doing? Tune into the Clay Edwards Show every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. 103.9 FM WYAB. Tune in tomorrow morning. I got my girl Lindsay Beckham in the studio with me. Little Monday fun day. She's my full-time co-host on Mondays. Always looking forward to talking to Lindsay. And look, man, let's just be honest. When they're easy on the eyes, like Lindsay's easy on the eyes, I know my fellas will absolutely enjoy the good show. Here's our flyer for tomorrow morning right here real quick. Letting it load up. There's myself and Miss Beckham. And we are officially starting it. Well, we will be streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X at Save JXN, as well as the radio station 103.9 FM WYAB for the Clay Edwards Show. Stay blessed, stay safe, and do everything you can to avoid a Jackson, Mississippi gas station. If you run out of gas in Jackson, push it past 10 gas stations till you get back to Rankin County before you stop, because you might not ever get to leave if you don't.